Okay, so we're going to continue on with this. Some of this is dealing with Stephanie's supposed murder and the FBI getting involved with me and what really went on up there that night, and then a bunch of occultic stuff around it. It's interesting. You see these lights in the background? Yeah, that ain't what you think, but we'll get to that later. So it shows her memorial thing. They had already put this up. This one was the original. This came after. Why would you go from this beautiful picture of this girl to this? It looks like a mental patient. Remember, it was 73. That's satanic. 70. It's demonic. Demonic 73. Isn't it funny here that you got 37 and down here you got 73? They're mirrored. I don't know who this broad is. I know who this one is. This one, no idea. Have no clue. Matter of fact, I'm not sure this one ever existed. The only time I ever saw any picture of that was on her Facebook page. But this is the one that I was involved with. No. This is her dad. It's interesting, because if you look at this here, the people that put together the GoFundMe page, and let this be a lesson to you, the people that speak up the loudest about shit like this are usually involved. This was her boss at work. What an interesting email. Jim Wood Driver. A wood driver. You know what wood is? A woody. It's a sexual term for a fucking hard-on. So he's a wood driver. And here's her email. Amy Laska, Miss Amy 133. Why would you pick that number? I think it's interesting that her dad lives at 133 Sandy Point Road in Old Saybrook. Says Paul is married to Paul P. Voronsky. That I can't verify. Stephanie never told me anything about her dad being married to another dude, so whatever. What is interesting is if you look, it said Paul is also related or closely associated with Ann Silva, David Silva, and Denise. No mention of Stephanie. Her middle name was Ann, and maybe somehow they left Stephanie Ann Silva out. It's just funny that it's the way it's written. So he lives at 133, and the woman that's directly involved in all of this uses 133 in her email, which I think is interesting. So let's go over here and look at this. Here's her email, and then what's right underneath here that I put together? Let's see. What is this? Enochian magic, the 23rd Aether. The meaning associated with Tor, including forced labor, toil, and work, is associated with Leo, Libra, and Pisces. Its magical number is 133. What's in Enochian magic? That's dealing with things you shouldn't be dealing with. Like demons. So we're back to that shit again. Okay, so let's continue. This is kind of a refresher, and then we'll move on. Ownership history of where Stephanie lived. Now I go on Amazon and show you where I sent her stuff. I bought her some perfume. That's the correct address. 171 Stubtown Road, Hopkinton, Rhode Island. But it says current owner. Hiziogar Frabkis. Interesting name. And Stiagabu are A. Frabkis. And then when you go and you search, and I had to search all over, couldn't find anything because the name sounded demonic to me. Couldn't find anything, so I finally just Googled it. You see it says here, ownership, current owner, Joseph Francis and Stephanie A. Francis. When did they take ownership of it? When did they take ownership? So June 28th, 2019. When did Stephanie and Joe take it? June 28th, 2019. So I had to search out these names. And when I did, I found Stephanie R. Francis is Stiagabu R. Frapkis, and Joseph R. Francis is Hisiog R. Frapkis. That's interesting stuff, isn't it? But what's over here? This is the from February 09 to 21. You got 1, 2, 3 Joe's in here somewhere. You've got the same 4 people buying this house over and over, and every time it gets bought, the price goes up. And it's interesting here, isn't it? You see here, the 33, the zeros have no value. This is all, it's how this thing works. It's all code. But let's get back to the Hesiod thing here. The key word there being Og. So now we know that Joe and Stephanie are using fictitious names. Why? I don't know. They were obviously involved in something, but what is a Og? Well, now we're talking Og, a fallen angel. Is that really a fallen angel, or is that somebody whose mind has fallen due to the act of being sodomized? It's possible, because it makes him into another creature. But let's look at this. Digging in the Bible's ancient Og. Now here's Asherah. Who was she? Well, she was the female side of Baal. So the devil and Satan are the same character, but they're split into 2 sides. One's the devil, the other one's Satan. One's female, the other one's male. So this is Asherah, which was his consort. And you have Joe, who is Og, and Stephanie, who's Stiagabu Frapkis. Now, Stephanie had a Asherah pole in her backyard, which I don't think she erected. I think Aaron Arnold, the child trafficker, had that there before they bought the house. It's interesting, though, that they legally have it listed with Hesiod Frapkis. In this picture, you have one-eye symbolism, you have the phallic symbol, you have the little girl sticking something in her mouth, which is their daughter, and I even hate to think that shit, but you have to look at it for what it is. So we're talking about fallen angels here. Now this is a picture of an Asherah pole, biblically. Boy, what do we see there? Well, it's a dragon's claw, isn't it? And over here from the movie The Wicker Man, where they sacrificed the guy, it's the same configuration. Now an Asherah pole does not necessarily have to have these things on it, but it can. And if you look here, boy, doesn't that look real similar to this? Matter of fact, let's just do this. Let's just do this for fun. Oh, you know, you did read the bottom of it, the Detroit Jewish News. And we'll just take this and we'll just rotate this to the left 90 degrees. There we go. And then we can make it real small like this. There we go. And we'll just put that right on there. You see, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. We know who's behind this. So I'm just reestablishing some stuff from the earlier videos. We can clearly see that these are the same thing, and it's all being run. So Stephanie is associated with Og, and so is Joe. And the dad with his 133, and Amy with her 133. Interesting that those guys would have that. So let's continue. So here's Og. Why do they show monkeys? Here's X. We know what that is, because that was over where Joe supposedly died in the pickup truck. Monkeys are demons. In The Wizard of Oz, you remember the flying monkeys? Those were demons. We see these 2 concentric circles. And please don't tell me this is a Vesca Pisces, because that's the bullshit thing they told you. This represents 2 things. It's the male and the female side of the mind combining. It's also 2 ass cheeks. Okay, butthead. All right, so what is this? House of Og. They take something evil and they design it and they get kids involved in it where they think it's cool, and then they open places called House Og and all that, and kids go there and it winds up being a big pedophile thing. And if you look at this one right here, there's our favorite color, right? There's our favorite color, the one that represents pedophilia. If we look over here, what is this? Oh, who would that be? Well, that would be Kali. That's who the Jews really worship. The Talmudic Jews, not all Jews. But she's the goddess of death. That's what the swastika really represents. Okay, and if you look here, you'll see that there's a knife there, and there's a slice of pizza here. So pizza is what? Oh yeah, pizza's Pizzagate. It's also known as the devil's doorway. It's an asshole. And what does it do? It reconfigures the mind and makes it almost narcissistic, where it has no empathy. And it makes it very easy for killing. Hitler sodomized his guys, and Alexander the Great sodomized his guys, so that then when they went into battle, they would have no conscience about what they were doing. Now, here we have the secret pizza party in the pink and yellow configuration for sex and violence. And there's the raccoon. And here is what? The secret handshake. Oh, but we know what this is already. It's the seal, isn't it? Right? And it says, don't tell anybody. You can't tell anybody, because that's what pedophiles do. What are raccoon eyes? Raccoon eyes are also known as a sign of a dark blue or purple bruises on your upper and lower eyelids. It makes it look like you have two black eyes. This happens when blood leaks into your eye tissue after a head injury. Yeah, you'll see these guys, they have black eyes. Why? Because they're getting pounded from behind and the internal pressure busts the blood vessels. The condition gets its name from the dark fur around the raccoon's eyes. What are raccoon eyes? Okay, we got that. Now what happens is when they're getting pounded from behind, they have white flashes in their eyes. That song by Todd Rundgren, I Saw the Light. Yeah, the story behind that is he said he was at home one night and some guys broke in and tied him up and they were singing that song. No, he got tied up and he got banged from behind and you see a white flash. And it'll tell you here, when your eyes are closed, you may still perceive visual sensations due to the brain's processing of information. This can include, and that's important, brain's processing, because the kid's being rewired, reprogrammed. This can include phosphenes, which are flashes of light caused by pressure on the retina or spontaneous. So they just told us that the pressure behind the eye creates raccoon eyes, right? So what's next? Well, let's go back to this movie. You see what happens? Boom. That's the symbolism for the white flash. Just like an atomic bomb, when you see movies, it goes off, there's a big white flash. That is the destruction of that child's mind that will never be back to what it was. That's why what goes on in Vegas, VAGUS, the vagus nerve, stays in Vegas. And that white light in Back to the Future, they had to go 88 miles an hour, remember? And it was Marty who's hanging around with an old man called Doc Brown. What is in your body that is the color brown? An old man and a little kid hanging around together, and Doc Brown. And what is the name on the movie marquee here? The Atomic Kid. And why is that? He had to go 88 miles an hour, and why? Because the 88 represents the two sides of the brain being activated at once. And just like his asshole, his head was on fire, and it got activated. Ba-boom! Hence, the Atomic Kid. What I'm trying to show you here is I'm tying this stuff all together to tell you that there's something to do with all of this went on with what has gone on with Stephanie. There's a child trafficking ring. All of this is all tied together. And jumping back to the panda thing, this guy was the one that was affiliated with that whole Pizzagate thing years back. he owned a thing called Planet Ping Pong. The ping pong are your two balls, your two nuts, slapping back and forth when you're sodomizing. Your balls hit one side, and then you get it from behind. The guy's nutsack swinging back and forth. That's the ping pong. Here he is wearing the panda mask. And you can see, this guy was a guy who was affiliated with Hillary Clinton. James Alefantis. Come Panda. The National Zoo presents Come Panda. Any questions? Fucking filthy fucks. So this is the original picture. I removed there was a dick right here. It was supposed to be, Stephanie sent it. She said it was Joe's dick. She was perplexed on why this. She kept saying, why does that look like Amy? If you look at Amy over here, if you compare the two ears, you look at the bangs, the bangs are the same. I don't know what all of this is. I know what it's pertaining to. And if we look at the color down here, there's the color, and we look at the color over here. These are codes, people. That is dealing with pedophilia, that color. That's why it's in there. So Amy's picture is on a phone that Joe's got his dick on. Yet Amy looks like a little kid, kind of. This is when, you know, it starts occurring to me that what was going on up there, that this was some kind of pedophile thing. And of course, later she wound up getting killed, and supposedly, and when I told the state police that this story of her getting shot by Joe, because see, they didn't know that I had all the texts. They didn't know I had all of that stuff. Nobody even knew I existed, because this whole thing was kept in the dark. I met her on my web page, talked to her on the phone, went up there and worked, got with her for a time, went back out of state and was working. Nobody even knew I existed. But maybe this bitch did. But Steffi never alluded. I think I asked her once, I said, did you ever tell Amy? And she said, no. So even that bitch didn't know. So when they wrote up their fake police report, right, the fake police report, they didn't know that I had all of that information in the background, which would prove that it was fake. Shortly before midnight. Yeah, Joe came in. Shortly before midnight, I was on the phone with you, a-hole. Nobody came in. And if we look, just another comparison, you can see the ears are exactly the same. Stephanie was baffled why it looked like Amy. Couldn't quite figure it out. So then Amy was talking, and I'm just going over this so this is fresh in your mind, to this chick named Melissa Silva, which is Stephanie's maiden name. Timman, that must be her married name. Here's the color for the pedophilia. Here's the mirroring, which is what happens when they get raped. So this right here, right, tells me that that's what happened. But we have the last name Silva here, which was Stephanie's last name. See, I'm trying to solve a murder here, but I have to go about it in a very occultic way, because the way this is going down is not normal in any way, shape, or form. So, if you remember, for the memorial, I was watching these two talk, and this broad said, I'll bring a gift card from my store, and I'll bring it with me next weekend. And I said, I'd like to donate Aaron Arnold's name, and the pedophile ring up there that's going on that led to Stephanie's murder. Well, immediately, both of these, Amy Laska and this Silva chick, immediately the post has been removed, and I mean like within 5 seconds. I never seen anything be removed. They didn't remove my comment. The post, they removed it, I'm guessing so nobody could see it at all. And I shot that when? On the October 3rd, 2 days before the memorial. 2 days before the memorial. Now, I'm going to show you my paperwork. So, that was on the 3rd. Now, this was filed on September 30th. This emergency order was issued on... hang on. I just want you to see this here. When they said it, confidential. Okay? This is confidential, huh? That means they didn't want anybody to see it. I wonder why that is. On 9/30/2024, this emergency issue order was issued. Okay? It was for them. Now that was 5 days before the memorial. And we can see who is, this is the judge that signed it. Who was it that was the complainant? Well, I know that it came out of Rhode Island, but they sent it to Illinois. Okay, and over here, it'll tell you right here, it was a law enforcement officer that lives in the town that I lived in. Okay, they didn't go to the apartment. They didn't call me on the phone. They just went ahead and did all of this paperwork. It was an emergency order. Why was it an emergency order? Because they knew in 5 days I was going to be in Rhode Island at that memorial, and I was going to expose this whole fucking thing. The murder, the pedophile ring, all of it. That's why they used this emergency order. See? And so, let's see. That came in on the 30th. They had 5 days. They had 5 days to talk to me, question me, whatever they wanted to do. I never made any threats. You saw the threat that I made. I was going to come up there and bring all the names of the pedophiles and everything that I had. That was the threat I made. They up there in Rhode Island called Chicago and said something along the lines about firearms and weapons. They turned around and sent it down to West Virginia. How they found me, I have no idea. And then West Virginia and the FBI came. Do you see here? Confidential. Emergency order. Why was it confidential? And then when I called in to see if I could get an extension because they wanted me to come up to a hearing on the 10th, right? Which they took my car. There was no way I could get there. I asked them if I could get an extension. They said, no, because of the delicate nature. Delicate nature? Oh, you mean you don't want none of this getting out to nobody? Do you see what's happening here? Do you see what they did? They didn't arrest me for making a threat using firearms, yet they went and got an order of protection, a restraining order basically, that says you can't be around any weapons. But what are you basing that on? I never said anything about that. And if I did, you'd have been there arresting me. Do you see? And then they went and towed my car because they said there was bullets in it. And when they held it for a week and I went down to get it, guess what was still in the car? The bullets, exactly where they were when they towed it. So not only did they stop me from going to the reunion, they stopped me from having access to my car for a week. Luckily, I had my cousin's car to go to work. But when I went down there, the bullets were still in the car. Here's the bullets that were in my car. It was 250 rounds. You see that box? You see how old that is? Those things have been in my trunk for months. Does that look like a new box? Does that look like a box that I just bought and I was going to take up to Rhode Island? Nope. And they're still in the car, even when I went to go get it. Which means the police most certainly, if that was really the situation, would have removed them and said when the restraining order is taken off and you have access to your weapons, you can have the bullets back. But they didn't. They left them in there. Why? Because it was never really a threat. It was all about me going up there and exposing this pedophile ring.
Thank you for calling Alderson Police Department. If this is an emergency, please hang up and dial 911. To speak with Chief Williams, please press 1. To speak with... This is the office of Chief Williams. He is currently unavailable to take your call. Please leave a message and phone number, and he will contact you back as soon as possible. Thank you.
Well, I'll get a hold of him, and I'll get that out to you guys, and he'll verify that the FBI had him watching me for a week prior, from the 9th to the morning of the 5th. So why didn't they move in then if weapons were involved? Which you know they would have, because it wasn't about that. It wasn't about that. It was about stopping me from getting up there, because there is an actual pedophile ring up there that has been involved at the very minimum in murder. Okay, what the victims, how this is all tied together, that's what I'm still working on. That broad, Amy Laska, is Aaron Arnold. Aaron Arnold is a child trafficking and ritualistic murderer. And the key word here is confidential and emergency. Those are the two key words there. One way or another, I'm going to solve what's going on up there. Hook or crook, takes me the rest of my life or costs me my life. One way or another, I'm going to find out what this is. Let's continue. So this is interesting. Here's Stephanie making a dragon's claw over here with her finger pointing down. Here's this woman with her finger sticking out and the dragon's claw over here. Here's Adolf Hitler with the dragon's claw and the finger sticking out here. Do you find that a little bit odd? You think there's a message there? You see, isn't this interesting stuff here? Why would Stephanie be doing that? And look at the color of the shirt she's wearing. All of this is all tied together. So this is a woman named Jodi Asarius that supposedly killed her husband. You can see by the picture, we already know what's going on in her head, right? She's been done in the ass, and I'm about to prove that to you. That's why she's mirrored. Here she is in jail. See the crazy look on her face? She's holding a Hershey bar. In case you don't know what the Hershey Highway is, it's up your ass. But what gives it away here is this. The pink and yellow mix called saffron on her underwear, and that's his name. That means he was doing her from behind. That's interesting stuff, isn't it? And what's even more interesting is this book called Pretty Little Killers, with the exact same color combination. And notice it uses the word little. Wouldn't it be funny if we found out in the end that it wasn't Stephanie that got murdered, it was Joe that got murdered by Stephanie. And the whole thing was a setup to protect Stephanie and keep her out of jail. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying they accused her of murdering Travis. The mother had me do a whole big write-up on it. And nobody could figure out how this small girl was able to overpower this dude and kill him. I don't know. All I know is that I know from talking to the girl that Joe was screwing around with. Joe was real big into anal. And the whole story about this is that this broad, who obviously was into anal, there's her underwear, wound up knifing this guy to death. I don't know. That isn't really even a theory. I'm just throwing it out there. Because if he was anal with this other chick, he was definitely doing that to Stephanie. one thing I know for sure as we continue is that this whole thing is based around a cult, and it's based around that sexual act with adults, but especially children. So let's go back and remember the beginning of this. So this is Aaron Arnold, which looks just like Amy Laska. Our Warwick Park opens up each Christmas Day, Saturnalia, old Jewish holiday for raping kids and debauchery. Every time they say Romans, understand it was the Jews, to throw a huge Christmas party. Pizza is a well-known, established phrase for pedophilia. To kids who are local orphanages, in orphanages and foster homes. Why are they in those things? Because nobody gives a shit about them. So guess what? Nobody's going to look for them. They get lost in the system and they're gone. Or otherwise involved in youth and family services, which is the number one business of trafficking. That's what those things actually do. The goal is to offer kids a Christmas that they wouldn't otherwise have. Well, yeah, getting raped on Christmas is probably something most kids don't want. Our park in Richmond greets first perspective adoptive parents. Really? Are they adoptive parents or potential buyers? Yeah, it's the second one. So this is the rest of it. Now this is written insanely stupid, like the police report. The inception of the park was the creation of Aaron's consciousness. You mean thought? Is that how you wrote it? Thought? Aaron's consciousness? Gee whiz, let's see what was going on in her conscience. When she discovered the concept of a trampoline park during a family vacation to Disney World. We know what Disney World is, don't we? Oh, there she is. And there's some of her wares for Disneyland. Oh, just so you know, black, white, and red are satanic colors. Extremely. And then, of course, there's old Mickey with his finger up. So she went on a vacation to Disneyland. Sounds like she was a prospective member herself 9 years ago. 9. Why does that sound so familiar? And has evolved into an upscale entertainment center with multiple attractions and streams across 30 locations. The 3 represents Saturn, which is Mother. So what we're dealing with here is a very demonic situation, involving kids. So it was 9, huh? Oh, yeah, this guy here? Yeah. See the black, white, and red, same as you got over here? This is the guy that said I don't exist. Oh, and I like the color he's using here for his pedophilia. See, somebody that's into this would be able to see this and go, okay, this guy's one of us. There's the color for the pedophilia, right, that I've showed you. Here's the black, red, and white, which is satanic. And here's the eclipse, which means rumpy-pumpy on children. And so we go back to 9. Disney World 9 years ago. And where do we see that 9? Right here. Remember I showed you the atomic kid? You see the big H for hell? You see the number 9 over here? And on the marquee, it's hard to see, but it says the atomic kid. So this girl is involved in some really, really, really bad stuff. See? Except there's very few weirdos out there like me that spend a third of their life sitting down and figuring the codes out and stuff. So I know what they're doing. I can read this stuff. It reads like a comic book, except there's nothing funny about it. Now let's jump over to that fruitcake. So this character here, see him with the Trump thing? See him right there? That should tell you what he's into. No, I'm not talking politics. Trump plays YMCA at all of his rallies because Trump sucks dick. It's a Village People song. The Village is in New York. It's a gay community. So you look at this guy here. This is the guy that went on and said that I don't exist. In front of his whole audience. He said, I don't exist. And here's a little show with this little pedophile thing here, which, believe me, he's getting a special. I'm sending him a thumb drive, too. maybe with any luck, he'll stick it up his ass. See? The John Petrie Facebook Live, Road Patrol Live. And he was mad because he didn't have the scoop on it. Nobody knew I existed, and I had all the dirt on this whole thing from the beginning. So he had a fit. And look where he hangs out. Wow. He hangs out where? At Temple Toret, Israel. Gee whiz. What group of people do you think he's affiliated with? Except what he doesn't know is he's one of these child raping Jews. Yeah, I'm not. I'm one of the guys that hates those guys. That's why once I start sending those things out, this thing is going to go bananas, because people like this guy are going to panic. Because all I got to do is find out who he's affiliated with and just start sending stuff out. Same thing with everybody involved here, and that's exactly what I plan on doing. Might wind up getting me killed in the end, but I don't really care at this point. You took the only thing they took the only good thing I had in my life. I like how they were doing this is police footage of supposedly the domestic, which never happened. They were both arguing over a manila folder, and they both fell to the ground. Joe didn't slap her or beat her or anything. And he wasn't charged with that. It's just the fact that when they fell, they both made contact with each other. And so that's considered domestic violence. Hopkinton police body footage, May 20th. On the wall in the work area of the basement is the flag of Kekistan, a fictional place tied to white supremacists. No, it's Jewish. Here, let me show you. I love it when they try and bullshit the public. I love it more when the public buys it. Here's the flag. See it? Make it actually bigger. Hang on. It's the seal. It's the same thing it always is. Watch. There's a point there. Comes down here. This point comes down here. This point comes down here. You see it? It's them. It's always them. It's not some other group called white supremacists. It's the Jews that are into Talmudic bullshit. Okay? And they put a Nazi background flag on it. The Nazis were the Jews. It's the same fucking thing. Anybody with a brain can see it. And I like how they put on here, Francis was breaking away and Joseph was losing control. I said that to her in a private conversation. Because she went out and got a job working as a waitress. That in the beginning she wasn't sure if she was going to do it. I talked her into it. So, you can see how small she is. Look at how small she is. That's the front of the vehicle. She was only 4'11". You're going to tell me this broad was arguing with a guy who had a shotgun in his hand. I'm sure that was her first response. She might be dead, but he didn't do it. He had 20 years worth of chances to murder her. Even after the no contact order, she was still letting him come stay downstairs. He didn't do this. Amy Laska and her buddies did, if there's an actual physical death. They're putting that out there so that you tie him to her murder, so that you think white supremacists are bad guys. Just like when they said he left his key in the back door when he snuck up the stairs. If you're going to murder somebody, and that's your entire goal that night, you don't waste your time with theatrics. You don't go up the back stairs, you don't leave your key in the door, you walk in the front door, you shoot them and leave. And the fact that he stayed in the general area for 11 hours, according to them, tells me, no, he didn't. Because nobody in their right mind, even a fucking murderer, they flee. This thing reeks. It reeks. That is the seal of Saturn on there, which is a Jewish symbol. The Nazi swastika represents Kali, the goddess of death, that the Jews worship. The six-pointed star has nothing to do with a guy named David. That is the talisman of Saturn. And it represents, guess what? Death. Because they are a serpent death cult. Now, once they had the fundraiser going to raise money for her supposedly kids, this is one of the things that they were, raise a glass for Stephanie. A portion of all Chair 2 light lager sales will be donated to Steffi Francis Fund in support of her two children. I've never even heard of this beer. Why would you have an off-brand beer? Why wouldn't you just buy regular beer? Because it was a restaurant that she worked, and the guy that owned the restaurant was the other half of raising the money. Why wouldn't you just have a regular beer and just say, if you buy this beer, we'll donate X amount of money? Because I think the clue is in the name. Chair 2, yeah? Chair 2 is a play on the word Chair 2 in Russian. And what does it mean? Translate this page in English, it means go to hell. So what are you saying? Go to hell, Stephanie? Because it looks highly suspicious. The fact that you're bastardizing this woman's death. So you see here where it says, because I left the T out of there, there's no literal go to hell in Russian. That is used readily as in English. In English sound, it will sound like IDIK, Chair 2. Here's Chair 2. I left the T out of there when I put it up there. None of this is by chance. And what an interesting logo they have. Red and blue, Masonic ladder, the symbol for pi on the top. Looks suspicious. That's a picture she sent me way long time ago in the very beginning. So she had a glass of wine, you could tell. I just find it hard to believe that a woman that's got that kind of look on her face set me up. I don't see any malice in there. I don't see any evil. I'm sorry, I just don't. Something happened. I mean, this tattoo, that's a hummingbird with hibiscus. Hibiscus is the flower that they use in witchcraft to celebrate the bloodlust of Kali. And the hummingbird is an MK Ultra program which deals with mind control, which could be very well what she was. But whatever she is right here, I don't see any hate. And then look at this here. Tomorrow, Tuesday, October 8th, al fresco locations in Divine Italian Bistro will be hosting Dine for Stephanie. Simply tell your server you're dining for the Stephanie Francis Memorial, and a portion of the proceeds will be donated. But look at this here. I don't know who the fuck these people are, but they're fucking stupid. Let's lose this part of it. Let's make this a little bit bigger here. Let's just blow this up here. You see what they did? You see how you got the sickle part right here? You see I got the cross right here? All they did here was take this here. I don't know if I can do it honest like this. They took this here like this, and they flipped it around. Vertical flip. You see? Vertical flip. So they put it up here like this. All they did is they took the sickle. I'm trying to flip this thing around the right way. Here's the sickle. All they did is they took it from being down here and coming up and going over. They took it and they flipped it. Yeah, maybe I can do it this way. Let's see. All right, let's see. I'm pretty sure you guys get the idea. basically that's what they did. Now if I take this and I go like this, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to take freeform, and I'll try and draw this the best that I can. No, hang on. Yeah. Oh my God, am I terrible. I never could do this. Motherfucker. We go like this, and then we come down here, and then we follow this around like this. Even though it's not very close to being what it's supposed to, it'll still work. And then we take this part right here, and then we're going to flip that, rotate that around like this, right? And what they did then is they brought this up and over, and somehow I've got to get that to lean over. If I can get this to lean over and come over the top, you'll have the exact same. And the color code is yellow and pink. I took it out. I can't do it. You guys get the gist of it, though. You see, all they did is they just took this and they moved it over here. I don't know who the fuck these people are or what this is. It's all based around the same thing. All of this. I mean, who does this? You know, you're raising money for who? For the kids? This whole thing reeks. It reeks. So I'm going to show you everything is fractal here, okay? So this whole sodomy thing that they're into, it blows up the kid's head. Read this down here. Broken Heart Twin Towers sculpture. So this is the Twin Towers. And if you look at that real closely, doesn't that look like a piece of shit right there, wrapped around him? This is a fat Jewish guy. This is his knock-kneed Jewish kid, okay? Now, when they bang the kid, the white flash in their head resembles an atomic bomb, and it utterly decimates their brain. I mean, this is why it's so bad, okay? So let's just look at this first one. What's the name of this first bomb? Atomic bomb. What is it? Fat Man. What's the name of the second little bomb that they dropped? Little Boy. Isn't that amazing? Fat Man and Little Boy. 9/11 is the act of sodomy. The act of sodomy blows the kid's mind up. Or, as I showed you, hold still, let me go get it again for you, so that we don't forget, so that your favorite movie becomes a reality and not some kind of fucking bullshit fake story. The Atomic Kid. Right there. And Back to the Future. You have to understand something about these perverts. This is a demented genetic thing they keep passing down and using it on other people that aren't involved. Okay, but the problem is that instead of looking in the mirror and going, we got to stop doing this, they attribute it to like some kind of divine connection. Divine is female. That would be mother. And so what they do is they write it off as part of their religion. And so to make themselves feel better, they say, oh, some deity told us it's okay if we do this to kids, and it's our rite of passage. And so that because they're selfish and greedy and fucking narcissistic, they try and pass laws to make it where they can get at your kids. You see, it's really got nothing to do with that whole story of theirs. It's a perversion. And so they write laws to make themselves feel better because they know it's wrong. They really hate themselves. This is what all the child trafficking crap is. This is what's going on. That's what 9/11 is. I keep trying to show you. Here, there's another picture I got somewhere. I want to show you something. Look here. This is a picture of the Twin Towers you've never seen. See here? You see the eye in the tower? That's the right side of the brain. See the other one? See they're both smoking? Isn't that an interesting picture? Notice that the smoke isn't white, it's brown. That's interesting. And here's this piece of dog shit. Yeah? Oh, I forgot to say, look at the hue of this guy's shirt for the pedophilia color. Same thing with old Buzz Aldrin. And he's got his dick finger up, and what does it say? A magnificent desolation. Wow, a magnificent desolation. How nice that is. All bragging about doing the same thing to kids. I know that this thing with Stephanie is tied into this. I just don't know what happened with Stephanie. I know that that's a child trafficking ring up there, which I'm going to blow wide open. I just don't know how she's involved. If they came to get her kids and she tried to stand up to them and they killed her. There's that 11-hour gap where the cops didn't do anything, remember? Which tells me there was either an operation going on or a ritual. That's period. As for her parents smiling like that there's only one of two things that could be. Either A, they were in on it, or B, it's all fake. So here you have the Twin Towers, you got a big piece of shit around them, and you got a fat man and a little boy, which were the two first atomic bombs, which is exactly what goes off in the head, and then it creates a magnificent desolation. Let's take a look here. This is this big fat Jewish bitch named Mama Cass. The older people remember her. Look at her ring. Now, here's old Amy Laska, Aaron Arnold. Here's her Mickey Mouse head. Squint your eyes and look and you'll see it. There's the eye there, there's the eye there, there's the nose, there's the mouth, and there's the two ears. Because that's all child sodomy and programming. It's what it is. Which I love this down here. I love this. How they code this? Watch. Ash blonde for Ashra, pole, and dark. None of this is done by accident. This is all code. This is all code. I want to know what happened to Stephanie. Whether she's walking around in that house, whether she's downtown, whether she's in a box in the ground, or cremated. There's something that's way off about this, the way that everybody pushed back on me right from the get-go. Especially this cunt. That Amy Laska, which is tied in with this Aaron Arnold, which is tied into Silver Oak. Which we'll get to here in a minute. So here's a secret pizza party. Okay? Here it is right here. This is a famous painting. See the guy making his arms, doing the same thing? Because it's Baal. And Baal worship is sodomy. That's what they're all into. See this here? Remember this? Black Lives Matter? See the shadow? There's no sign. It's because it's the symbol they're making. They got you believing in this bullshit when it's really this is what they're doing. Here she is over here doing the same thing again. There's a dragon's claw, and if you look right up here in the corner, who do we see? This dude over here. Once you understand this and you see this for what it is, you know who's behind it. The people that sold the story that they were chosen by some deity, that they were above you. Does this look like they're above you? They're involved in every wicked, fucking underhanded, disgusting thing on this planet. Here's Tom Hanks from a show from the 90s, where there are two guys that dressed up like women so they could live in a hotel where a bunch of broads were. Funny, he's making a dragon's claw and he's rubbing his pussy. Tom Hanks is a broad. This is off Facebook. And it looks innocent enough, doesn't it? But it's really not, is it? Here's the woman wearing purple, scarlet. Here's the child, and what do we see right behind him right here? There's the seal, which is the whole sodomy thing. You got the yellow and the pink between her and the wheel. The wheel, here's the one right behind the kid. If you unravel that thing, it'll make a square. Okay? So if we fill this in so you can see it, we'll do it with white. There it is right there. But what gives it away is the fact that he's sprouting that color. And this is how they pass information and shit like that. Everybody else thinks, oh, what a wholesome, lovely picture. No. No, that's pedophilia. And I'll show you. Here's another picture of the same kid. Do you think it's normal for a kid to have his fingers sticking out like that? Do you think it's normal? It is once they've been done up the ass, because this is a pedophile advertisement. You just couldn't see it before. Now you can. This shit is everywhere. And if they don't have real people to do it, they create them with AI. But the information's there for the people to go do the picking and the choosing of which little kids they want. I know we're talking all around in a big circle about stuff, but all of this is tied into this Lasky, Aaron Arnold bitch that's tied into Stephanie. All of it is. Or the feds wouldn't have come down the way that they did. So, my next video we'll talk about who has invested in this launch thing that this Aaron Arnold has. Because this is getting into big corporation stuff. But I wanted you to see the women here? See how they have their hands up? It's all the same thing. It's all the worship of Baal, which is all the thing of sodomy and fucking child murder. What happened up at Stephanie's house? We will figure it out, I promise you. Alright, so let's look here. Let's continue here. We're going to jump back to this thing with Stephanie's backyard and this Asherah pole and this Aaron Elizabeth Arnold, which sold the house to Stephanie. Okay? Just so to remind everybody, Stephanie, which is not that chick. This isn't her. I don't know why they're using that picture. She was supposedly murdered on the night of the 5th or this morning of the 6th. I knew right from the beginning something was wrong, so I started digging into it. I started realizing that there was a pedophile story involved here that was going on in the background because they waited 11 hours to tell the public even anything happened. That 11-hour stretch is when all the really bad stuff was going on. And I'm not so sure it was that involved her at all. I told the cops right from the beginning that I thought this was a cover story for something much bigger. As time went on and I started realizing and unveiling all of this stuff, I found the perpetrators and I let them know that I was coming up to her memorial on the 5th of October. And I was bringing the names of the pedophiles involved. Within 24 hours, the FBI and the state police were at my house and they stopped me from leaving. So I missed it. So if you're just tuning into this, basically what I'm doing is I'm showing you all these different occultic things that are all tied together with this premise in this area that are dealing with child trafficking. And that I honestly believe that if Stephanie did get killed, it was because either she got in the way or they came to get her kids or something. Otherwise, the other thing is that none of this happened. But there's so much occultic shit around this, it appears to me it most definitely did. Okay, so we know that this is an Asherah pole right here. Yes? This picture was shot with this one eye on purpose. Why? Because these two represent two different parts of the same religion. So it says Baal and Ashtoreth occupied for the Canaanites, which are the Jews, that there was a bovine image of some sort, a cow, connected with this cult, indicated by the name of the city Ashtoreth. Funny that that's called Ashtoreth, and she's got an Asherah pole in her backyard, which, remember, Aaron Arnold, this broad, is the one that sold the house to them. By the statement of Philo of Biblis that Astarte, as Asherah, put upon her head as a mark of her sovereignty a bull's head. So that's the horns that you see all the time. During the early century of Israel's residence in Canaan, they apparently felt little hesitation to join. Okay, so now you know that the horns are associated with the female. Okay, and that it's the cow. that Ashtoreth was a goddess. And it goes on, blah, 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 blah. She's the queen of heaven. You know, in the occult, she's the queen of heaven, she's the queen of hell. And the wailing for Tammuz, which is her, is what you see in Jerusalem when you see the Jews at the Wailing Wall and they're weaving back and forth. Well, that's them. They're having a sexual affair with mommy. Ashtoreth as an abomination to the Zidonites. One fact, probably the biblical evidence. Now here's where it comes in. The union of the worship of Ashtoreth with that of Baal. Here's the Asherah pole, which represents a penis. Here's the single eye of Baal, right? So both of these are in the picture together, right? With the picture of her daughter, who was from what I understand, was a great kid, but the fact that she's putting something in her mouth is always, in the world of pedophilia, that's like an advertisement. The union of the worship of Ashtoreth with that of Baal. The two cults are classified together. This location and this broad, especially with this corporate business that she owns, screams child trafficking and child sacrifice. Now we're going to jump back to this. See where it's the Lone Pine Mall. That's after he went back to the future, because originally there was two of them. See. Well, the 133 is tied in with Enochian magic, which is dealing with the fallen angels. But if you noticed, originally it was the Twin Pines Mall. Then after he went back to the future, it was the Lone Pine Mall, which, because the two sides of the brain, remember I told you? The twin towers, the two temples in the Bible, right? When they fell, what did they put up, resurrect in its place? A single building. So the same thing happened here. So when you see this, if you flip this upside down, it becomes 9/11, which is the act of sodomy. And if you look at this, if you flip this upside down, it spells the word hell, H-E-L, which spelled with one L is the woman mother, which is the queen of heaven that we just saw. Let's look at this disgusting piece of dog shit. Big fat Jewish guy with a fat knock-knees Jewish kid. This is a broken heart tower, twin tower sculpture. Yeah, look at the big piece of shit wrapped around it. Big fat guy, little fat kid. I showed you guys earlier that this was the first atomic bomb called Fat Man, and the second atomic bomb was called Little Boy. And together it creates a nuclear explosion in a child's mind from the act of sodomy and decimates it. So if you think I'm wrong about it, let's look at this. Never forget Keith Haring's 1978 drawing of the Twin Towers as penises. Gee whiz, that was years before that. You still think I'm wrong? So this isn't this isn't a man and a woman love. This is two male phallic symbols. What do you think? I like when people go, oh, you may be onto something. To those people, I say, go fuck yourself. I've been doing this for 20 years. I'm beyond onto something. I'm telling you what the truth of the matter is. Here, let's look at this. Wow, this is so very interesting. So now we have this theme 3 times. You don't really think that's a fireman, do you? Left side of the brain, right side of the brain. The two of them come together when that gets shoved up your asshole. And to them, it's a religion. See? That's why you can't eradicate that shit. Because the law, like they did with me when I was going to go up and expose that at her memorial, the FBI and the state police stopped me from going up there. Does that sound like justice to you? What do we have here? Oh, the Masonic G. What's this? The 2 pillars. Do you know what this is? Yeah, it's a big pile of shit. It's a big pile of shit. Because it's what they're into. And this is very interesting because this has to do with atomic energy. That's why there's a nuclear explosion and it's an atomic explosion in a child's mind. This is very, very dark stuff. But just look at this here and then look at this here. Now here's John Benet Ramsey. Remember that little kid? Why did they use this color for the letters? Because that's the color that they use for pedophilia. Amazing. And here she is wearing the exact same hat with the exact same code that we find here. If anybody thinks somebody broke in and fucking killed this girl, they didn't. The folks were in on it. Because it's a religion to these people. Offering up your kids and offering up other people's kids. Here it is from Blue Oyster Cult. Same thing, there's an astrological symbol for Saturn. What is this? Because it's showing you it's a repeat system. It's a repeat system. It goes on forever this way. And this, see where it says tyranny, that's the Jews, and mutation. The V is substituted for U. I don't know why they did that. Mutation. I guess they're referring to tyranny and mutation as in the human form or psyche. And so the Blue Oyster Cult was an actual thing out of Egypt, and they were a bunch of namby-pambies, BFFs. Oh, no, not best friends forever, butt fuckers forever. Just so you know. This I always find hilarious. Boeing Redemption Arc. That's fucking hilarious. So I'll tell you the story about how I know what Boeing really stands for. You'll notice the logo. You see it's the planet Saturn with the triangle. The triangle is the Pizzagate. The planet Saturn is what it's always been. It represents that big dick and a vagina together. But what's this? Boeing Redemption Arc? Well, what is that? Well, let's take a walk down memory lane here. So when I was in my early, I want to say late 20s or early 30s, I had a dream that I went to that factory. And when I was in there, the guy was showing me around, and I remember, I said, where did they get the name Boeing? And the guy goes, well, that's the sound it makes when you time travel. Well, I didn't understand it then. I do now, though. If you understand anything about it, when you go back to the Future, there's an old man and a young boy, right? And he's called Doc Brown. Well, brown is a symbol of what color of stuff that comes out of your body. Yep, you get it. So he goes back to the future. Hi. Well, he time traveled, but how did he do that? Through the redemption arc. Well, what is Boeing? What is Boeing? Everybody's seen this, they just never made the connection. Didn't you ever see a cartoon or whatever, or a movie or whatever, when a guy gets a hard on? And they always go boing? Do you understand? Time travel is not done in the physical sense. It's done in the mind through memories. But when they do this to kids, they lock the male into the child so the two kind of become one. And it sends them... What do you think Doctor Who is about? In the phone booth. In the phone booth. We'll cover that later. That's why Boeing has that symbol, because they're all BFFs. And the time travel is done through the mind of the cortex of the child, memories. Very, very dark science, but that's what that is. So now we've established that the stuff in the back of her yard is definitely tied into old Hebrew biblical bullshit, which means because of this is telling me that these people, not necessarily her, but this part especially, because her real name is Erin Austerlitz. Gee, do you think that sounds North Korean, or do you think it might be Jewish? That these people are playing the same role they always have. Nothing has changed. They never rejected the evil gods. They're still tied in with them, and they're still murdering fucking kids. This murder, or whatever it was that went on, that they said happened, was a cover story for whatever they were doing to the kids that night. That 11-hour period that they didn't say anything to the public and the public got enraged is because they were up there fucking and killing kids. I guarantee it. And I'm going to expose this stuff, and I'm well on my way. Because once I start sending out those thumb drives with all the information all over Rhode Island and Connecticut, people are going to know this broad and these other people, and they're going to say, hey, what's up with all of this shit? So Yes, I know I'm starting a war I can't possibly win, and it's probably going to cost me my life at some point. But it's all right. I lived my life. I had some good times. I had a lot of bad ones, but more recently, when she has left the scene, either murdered or moved on, everything about this tells me it was occultic. Everything about it tells me that it's not what it appears to be. Did she get killed? I don't know. But this is not her. But this is the picture they had on her Facebook page. And after running it through AI comparisons saying these are not the same two women. Okay, I understand they're using a picture of a fake woman. Where's the real one? Because they raised almost $40,000 on a GoFundMe. So it appears to me that they were scared to death of me coming up there and exposing all of this that I'm showing you. Because whether people understand it to the depth that I do, it's enough for them to go, well, wait a minute, what is all of this? Because then they could look at it and go, yeah, that's not the chick. Well, what is this? And then the parents would have to explain why fake pictures of the daughter appeared at a memorial. You see, it poses all kinds of problems. And again, when the FBI and the state police come to your house, it's not because they're coming there for tea and crumpets. Somebody with some big fucking connections pulled some strings to stop me. Because they know I was right. They wouldn't be there if I was wrong. See, this is my point. This is why I'm telling you. They stopped me from getting there, but they didn't stop me. They just slowed me down. So now, instead of stopping me from exposing it to a bunch of people at once, now I'm going to be firing these thumb drives out all over the place. Into Europe and into Canada, and all over the place. All over the United States. And now you're going to have a bunch of people going, what the fuck is this? Instead of a handful of people that would have gone at that moment. So yeah, I'm going to be naming names. And so where they stopped me from getting to them, I'm going to force them to pull me into them. In other words, maybe I have to go up there for a lawsuit. But guess what? You have to be there. And I get to see your face. See? Because I'm going to say all the really bad things. But the interesting thing about it is all the really bad things I'm going to say are all the really true things. Doesn't that sound like fun? You get exposed for being a pedophile and running a major corporation that's trafficking kids, and I get to stand by and watch. That's great. Doesn't that sound like a great Saturday afternoon? Oh, I'm sorry. It's Saturday, so you'll probably be at temple. Well, get used to the idea that the temple you're going to is going to have bars in front of it. So I want to show you this. This was back in, I want to say 2014. I got called to do a job at a guy's house. And supposedly he was a Holocaust. He was a Holocaust survivor. And so he wrote a book. You can see it up in the right-hand corner. I couldn't get this squared in enough. It's called Lucy's Hope. Oh, who's Lucy? Well, here she's a female because Lucy is a female. Lucifer. Right? It says Lucy's Hope. George Levi Mueller's Memoir of the Holocaust. So it's him and his sister. And it's printed by Infinity. That's interesting that you would pick that printing company for a name dealing with Lucifer, which is who? The time being. Ever used the phrase, for the time being? Well, that is the time being. Lucifer. But I want you to see this. Part 3, the camps. Waterberg and Bergen-Belsen. Now look what he writes. A covenant with death and an agreement with hell. Okay, 1943. I was in very strange circumstances. I'll bet you were. Now let me show you where that's actually from. So here's Isaiah 28:18. And your covenant with death shall be annulled, and your agreement with hell shall not stand. Well, that's weird. How come what he said is exactly the same thing? Let's go back and look. A covenant with death and an agreement with hell. Except Isaiah said it won't stand. Don't you think that that's kind of interesting? That he's almost quoting directly right out of the Old Testament what his situation was. What are the odds that this dude, who I told you the Holocaust has nothing to do with it, a bunch of Jews in a penned-up area, it has to do with the sexual act of sodomy. when you talk about a concentration camp, it's not a bunch of people pushed together. The concentration is in the mind. I don't know, I just find it funny that he's almost quoting word for word exactly what Isaiah said they wouldn't do or weren't supposed to do. Make a covenant with death and agreement with hell. But see, the hell is spelled with one L, not two, because hell is a woman. Oh yeah, no, it's a place, but it's also her. Again, the Queen of Heaven and the Queen of Hell are the same one. That's why the Catholics worship her. They just don't realize it. That's why she's called Mary, Mother of God. Now, recently you've heard about this filth in the news. Beyonce and Jay-Z in the launch for Tiffany About Love campaign. Well, here we have the right smack in your face is the pedo color. The knowledge of the cone. Oh, the knowledge of the cone. You mean the one between your legs? Is that what you're calling it these days? The Amorites. Who were the Amorites? Which goes right back to Stephanie again. The Amorites were the offspring of the fallen angels who were like second in line after the Remphan. Remphan, let me see if I can find it, hang on. Remphan. Now the scholars will tell you, we don't know what that name means. Really? It's right here. A girl's name, Hebrew origin, follower of a false god. So now we're back to the whole mother thing again anyway. Isn't that amazing? Scholars ain't been able to figure that shit out for hundreds of years, and I found it in about 15 minutes. Well, because I know what the story is, see? Unlike them that work for the firm and are tell them you don't know what it means. So going back to this filthy piece of shit and her, right? The knowledge of the cone. This whole thing screams child sexuality, child pedophile, child murder. Because this sick act that they have of doing this to kids, instead of looking in the mirror and going, we should probably stop this. No, they turn around and they say, oh, well, it's all right. Because the Creator told us we can do it, but they don't call it Creator, they call it God. And they say, oh, that's our covenant, blah, blah, blah. In other words, they made up a character that told them it was okay for them to do filthy things, and then they do it, and then they write laws to say that it's okay. All of this sacred geometry, it's all saying the same thing. It's just disguising the acts of what they're doing using math or colors or numbers. It all means the same thing. Getting into a kid's pants. Period. And these fuckers were programmed just like everybody else. Here she's standing there trying to act like she's Ashra or Ishtar or whoever. About love. I see. Is that what you're calling it now? Because I always called it rape and torture, but I don't know, maybe you're just this is the phrase you want to use for the season, I guess. You know who talked about love? Aleister Crowley and that other dickhead. They said, oh, because they were into thelema, which is butt fucking, and they said everything is permissible under the law. The law is the law of love, which you're free to do whatever you want to as long as you do it with love. Do what thou will. See? All of this all comes back. So the Amorites are these really bad guys that do really filthy things because they're the offspring of the original fallen, or the second in line from the fallen angels. See? So the Remphan became the Amorites, which Og is involved in that, which is interesting because remember Stephanie and Joe had the name Hizzy Og and Sti Ogaboo. Well, why would they pick those names? Why would they pick those names? So in the beginning, when I was panicking trying to find out where she was buried or the funeral home, I finally made my way to this place. And it's interesting because when you read this, it sounds like something that they do for people that are in witness protection or if you were working for a government firm. What makes Dignity Memorial? Remember the mother with the head in the hexagon frame? Yeah, that place. What makes Dignity Memorial Provider different? They offer a unique benefits like relocation program. Gee, I didn't know dead bodies needed to be relocated. Lifetime flexibility, purchase protection, and more. But if you go there, you won't find anything about her ever being there. And it's really interesting that the father and the next door neighbor immediately cut me off right from the get-go. And then the state police from Connecticut called and said, Don't contact the family. You know what I'm telling the state police in Connecticut? Go fuck yourself. You have no jurisdiction in the state that I'm in, and you can go suck a dick. Go join all your buddies up there in Rhode Island that do that stuff. Because you can call my house 1,000,000 times because you started the war. Now I'm gonna finish it. Okay, I was Mr. Nice Guy in the beginning because you had me by the nutsack and my soul was crushed. Guess what? I'm back. And even though I'll lose in the end, for right now, the victory will be mine. Does this read like a funeral home to you? Ask yourself that. What funeral home uses the word relocation protection? I don't know. Are dead bodies getting up and walking around? Maybe. I don't know. Sounds more like big government stuff, don't it? Like something where they have to hide somebody's real identity. That's what it sounds like to me. Believe me, what they did to me and my soul ain't gonna go unanswered, because the shit I'm about to release, they ain't never dealt with. You thought I was a pain in the ass before when you showed up at my house. About to get a little bit more serious. Oh, no. There's not going to be anything to deal with any violence. No, that would be the stupid way to go. The best way to go is just start educating the people around them and making people question stuff. Because, believe me, people that are directly involved and people that know people are directly involved and may not know that they're directly involved are going to know that they're directly involved. I know that was a mouthful, wasn't it? But you get what I mean? Because when the people in the neighborhood start getting these things in the mail and going, what is this crap? They probably didn't see any of this stuff that I'm showing you. What I'm trying to tell you is people are going to start asking questions in their own neighborhoods. And if I aggravate these fuckers enough, they're going to get the law involved. I don't mean like the police. Police can't do anything. It's a civil thing. Lawyers and that type of stuff. Oh, please drag me into court. I'll be more than willing to pack my shit and drive up there next week. Just so I can look you in the face. So again, this is supposedly the next door neighbor's kid, Amy Laska, who looks like Aaron Arnold, that sold the house to Joe and Stephanie. Does this look like a normal kid's picture to you? I know I showed it to you before, but I want to really drive the point home. Does that look like a normal child to you? This is a child that has had interactions with people that like to do things to kids, because that's what they do to the child's mind. As a matter of fact, I should probably stop calling it a child and call it inhabited. Because what's in that would-be child is not a child. The child's body has become a disguise for the thing that is in her, because what happens is when they do a kid, basically, for lack of a better word, I'll just use the word demon, gets installed. Or an altar. Isn't it funny that altars of the mind are altars of other personalities, but yet when you go into a church, you go up in front of the altar? Isn't that funny? Because really, if you look at the church doors, especially Catholics like to do that weird arch that they got that you walk in, that represents an asshole. Yeah? And so when you walk in, the asshole, right? You sit where? You sit in the pew. Isn't it funny that they call it that? And then from the pew, you go to the altar, right? Where you kneel down in front of it. And you take communion with it. And on top of the church, the bell, right? The bell is Baal, right? And Baal is the one that's in the sodomy. And what's interesting is, you ever seen the churches with the rounded kind of like domes on top? Yeah, you seen those? Yeah, those, they changed the spelling, but the sound is the same. It's called a colonnade. You know, your colon is where it's tied to your rectum and your asshole, right? So a colonnade would be what? Oh, yeah, a butt plug. Isn't that funny? Yeah, you go to church. Oh, and that big thing you call a crucifix? No, it's a cross, all right, but it's an X. It's the letter X, the oldest symbol in the world for this despicable act, but it represents Saturn, whom the Phoenicians called Israel. And so what they did is, if you go look at the Xfinity symbol for the cable company, they just elongated one end so they could stick it in the dirt. But it represents death. That's why it showed up where Joe crashed. Big black X, remember? Interesting that. Makes you wonder what's really going on here. This kid, I'd hate to be this chick's date when she gets older. God forbid this thing ever has kids. So if we look at this again, who was Og? Og was an Amorite. Well, the Amorites were, I told you, were the second in line after the fallen angels. There were the Nephilim, and then from the Nephilim came the Amorites, and Og was an Amorite. And Stephanie and Joe used the names. For Joe, they used Hizzy Og Frapkis, and for Stephanie, they used Steagabu Frapkis. So we know that they're aligning themselves with the name Og. And the Ogs were the Amorites, and they were the second in line after the fallen angels' first offspring, which turned in from the Nephilim to the Amorites. By birth, and the king of Bashan, he lived in Ashtoreth. And it's funny that Stephanie has an Asherah pole and uses the name Og in a fictitious name that her and Joe both have acquired. I don't know. Seems kind of odd. I don't remember Stephanie telling me about any of this shit. But, well, here we are. So, I'm going to show you. Remember I just showed you the thing where it said Boeing Redemption Ark? The Ark is the electrical ark, not like the boat. It never was a boat. That's a biblical bullshit story. It's the arc from the left side of the brain to the right side of the brain, which is exactly what's happening here in this stupid-ass movie that glorifies the act of some old man fucking a young kid in his ass. But, you know, cheer if you want to. It's got us where we're at today. But let's watch it. The redemption arc, going back to the future. In other words, stopping the future from happening, meaning judgment. The one thing these guys are scared of is judgment, because you know what judgment really is? Judgment is death. And then after death, there is no more. And they can't stand the fact that they would be all alone. So they keep using your kids and all the kids that they kidnap and sacrifice to keep rolling the clock backwards. You see where I'm going? Uh-oh. So what's going on here? Well, you got the old man. He's trying to plug into the kid. Uh-oh. What's that? Wouldn't that be the biblical tree of life? It appears to be, because they always put that crap in the movies. Well, just a little bit more. This is not a good advert for the DeLorean. You know why? Because if it takes you that fucking long to get to 88 miles an hour, you got a piece of shit car. But let's continue. $33.05. Okay. I'll explain that to you later. You get the 33 part, don't you? Here we go. Oh, what's that? What does that look like? Yeah, it looks like a hook. It's the same one the pirates got. You know it's the astrological symbol for Saturn, don't you? Oh, he just stepped on the gas. Wouldn't you have stepped on the gas the entire time? So what do you see right here? The eclipse. See it? That's why they're showing you this. See the eclipse? You have the inner and the outer. This would be dark and this would be, in here would be white. That's this simple. there's the arc right there. There's your redemption arc. So theoretically, he just made contact with the kid. You know, in the rumpy pumpy kind. Now the car, watch here. These are the two sides of the mind, the brain. The right temple and left temple, male, female, combined. The atomic kid. Okay? Following along? That's what the 88 is. Each 8 is a serpent that's wrapped around itself, making a figure 8, which represents activation. But the 8 also means it's locked into an eternal loop. So the two of them have now become mirrored to each other. And that's kind of a forever thing. It's magical. It ain't for the kid that it's happening to. Oh, and this here, the reason they show you that, yeah, that's another symbol for mommy. See? I don't know if you're aware that a lot of times they'll show you that pillar with an apple on the top. Because the apple represents the fall in the garden. But here they're showing you the eternal fire. Now watch the way that they flip this. Now watch this line right here. The way it's going to cross over, you'll see. There you go. So you got the two lines, you got this one coming across, which is a symbol for hell, and then you've got the number 9 over here, which is the numerical number of hell, because why? In mathematics, here's your sacred geometry, in mathematics, 9 always returns to itself, which means it never goes anywhere, it just keeps coming back. That's what he just did to that kid. Now watch. He did it just for a split sec. Where is it? Right? He's got his arms out. So we'll just go back and we'll show you where that is. See how they got their arms up? See there? So it's talking about them setting the stage for child sacrifice here, and it says on stage, on which a boy is the sacrifice. Children, the long-haired, blah 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 blah. The scene is in the oak groves, but the point is, you see the arms up. That's another symbol for mommy, because do you remember what I read to you earlier? It said that Ashtoreth put on like a cow's head. Well, these would be the horns. Right? But what it really represents is it represents the eclipse, which I've shown to you. I can draw it out for you, and I probably will, but I'm just showing you why old Doc Brown's standing there, because he just sacrificed another young man boy to Mommy Dearest here. Now, speaking of sacrifice, so here's a picture of the cube, and here's a woman with her arms up, and here's the horns, right? Isn't it funny that stupid thing that everybody fell for, especially the people that are Trump supporters that don't understand that dude is now considered the Jewish Messiah? Remember when they supposedly tried to kill him? Well, let's take a look over here. So here's the cube here, right? See it? There's the pentagram. The same one that was at Joe's accident, by the way. Let's see. Exclusive. The shocking reason Trump would-be assassin wasn't neutralized before firing, revealed by a top source. Yeah, but why would this black cube be right here? And they said that the guy used this black cube to get up onto the roof. I don't think so, because a door jamb, and that's a door right there. I used to work in a factory that made door. A standard door jamb is 6'9". So this appears to be smaller than that. So really, but there was a sacrifice, because there always has to be one, right? But they didn't kill Trump. Matter of fact, they didn't even really hit him. Somebody did get killed. It was a guy in the audience. And you can go look it up, and it was a fireman and blah, 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 blah. But the bottom line is here it is. Here it is over here. And, wait, let's see it again. Here it is over here. There they are. There's that black cube. That pesky black cube that represents Mother, which represents Devil, which represents Hell. Isn't that funny? Gee whiz, and they're all in there paying homage to that fucking thing. I didn't know the Catholic priests went here. I thought that they were actually trying to teach about the Father. Silly of me. I guess I was wrong this whole time. Wake up, you idiots. And I'm not necessarily talking to people on this page. I'm saying the world. You see who he's worshiping here? Who he's making contact with? Man, mankind is lost. Mankind is truly lost. It's so interesting, isn't it? And it's all because of this. There's your mirrored, right? And there's Mommy Dearest, right? And there, see how he's mirrored? And then you see, what? Oh, he's got his little dick finger up. What a lovely picture. I wonder if they make those things in wallet size. I think everybody should have one. Get the fuck out of here. I love all these truth tellers. Alex Jones and Joe Rogan and that Russell Brand and all of these other fuckers. How come they never talk about this stuff? Oh, you know why? Because it always goes back to the same group. You know, the ones that call themselves chosen, but they weren't even chosen for dodgeball in 6th grade. But they all worship her. People better start waking up to what this shit is. That your whole biblical background is bullshit. Believing this stuff that these guys... Isn't it funny? I was thinking this the other day. So, remember the story where the Jews were wandering around in the desert for 40 years? Well, you know why that is. One of them dropped a quarter. A little joke of mine. No, so they wandered around in the desert for 40 years. Who else wandered around? Well, Cain did after he killed his brother. It said he went out, he became a wanderer. So, the Jews were always living where? Oh yeah, they were always hanging around the Romans. Why are the Italians no longer called Romans? Why are they now called Italians? Well, as I used to tell Stephanie, you know, I have Jewish hands, but Roman fingers. Roman, R-O-M-A-N, is R-O-M-I-N, like I've gone fishing while I'm gone Roman. And now the Roman, let's see, the Romans were who? The wanderers. I had a guy one time, he was a Mason, and he tried to use some code on me. And he asked me, he said, when I started on the job, he goes, "Are you a wandering man?" And I said, "Well, are you trying to throw some Masonic code on me?" Well, he admitted to that he was a Mason. And then I told him, I said, "Well, you do know that comes from the story about Cain killing his brother." So I just find it weird that they went from being called Romans to Italians, and then the Romans, the ones that were roaming, were the Jews in the desert that were wandering. I don't know, it's just a thought. I'm just telling you that your history, biblically, is bullshit. But you can believe what you want to. Oh no, the Jesus part is true, but the rest of that stuff, especially the Old Testament, that's all their fables and stuff that Christians like to latch onto because they like to feel special. So, just so we're clear on this 33 thing too. Sodomy, triple squaring the circle. Here's 33. Notice the first word, sodomy. Interesting stuff, ain't it? Square and compass, squared circle, then letter G, right? 33 is D butt graphics. Because it's what I've been telling you. Now let's look at this. This is from the Talmud. Oh, that's a sacred book, says the Jews. It's sacred, is it? Well, let's take a look. He's holding up the 3 fingers, which is the dragon's claw. Okay. This is not a horse. This is a donkey. And a donkey, what? A donkey goes by another name. It's an older name, but it still stands true today. This is an ass. So what do you think symbolically is being said here? Maybe you'll figure it out. They're trying to tell you that this is okay because it's part of their religion if they want to fuck an ass. And I don't mean a donkey. Here's a great picture. There's that pesky mouse. Isn't that a wonderful picture of Mickey and Minnie Mouse? How very interesting. Does that kid look like he's having a good time? I'll take a guess. I bet he's not. The kid looks like he's fucking terrified. Because the kid knows what those fucking mice faces represent. Remember I showed you? Remember? Should we take a walk down memory lane? And then if we look over here, remember? Old Aaron Arnold? Remember? Aaron Arnold. Oh, Ash highlight. You mean Ashra highlights. Ashra pole highlights. See there? I knew as soon as I saw this mirrored thing, I knew there was something going on. And then if you look, sit back and close your eyes, squint your eyes, just squint them. And look, and you'll see the mouse's head. Yep, you want to see the mouse's head? Well, let's see. You'll see the mouse's head. There's the two eyes, there's the nose, there's the mouth, and there's the ears. And that is classic MK Ultra, and I'll explain again for those who haven't heard it. MK stands for Magic Kingdom. It's a fake land that's created in the child's mind during the act of programming, which usually involves some kind of torture. Usually it's a sexual thing, up the hind end. But the child is so mortified and terrorized that they retreat into their own brain and they create their own reality, which is why Disney uses the song It's a Small World. See, starting to get the picture? And so what they do is when they're torturing the kid, breaking the child's mind, they keep flashing that picture of that mouse. Okay, and it ain't a happy one neither. That picture of that mouse. And what happens is that gets ingrained in the kid's subconscious, and then anytime they flash that picture, that kid will go into a state of like shock where he returns the initial programming. And then they can either install a character. That's why Disney represents hell, because they're characters. They're altars. You can either insert a character with a whole fake history, or you can delete a character, which may be very well what happened with Stephanie. I don't know. But the bottom line is I know what this is. And I know what this puke is into with her child trafficking. And believe me, I'm going after him. That's why I said this shit's probably going to get me whacked. But I'm going after him. The corporation, too, that's backing her. Because I'll find out who their affiliates are, and I'm going to start sending this shit out to everybody. Because even though their affiliates may be involved in the same shit, it's the fact that somebody knows it. And then another person knows it, and then another person knows it, and then another person that's not involved knows it. See, this is not the kind of press they want. Because these guys like to work in the shadows. The last thing they want is somebody out in front of the building with a big bass drum and cymbals making all the noise. You get what I'm saying? Do you understand? Oh, no. Violence is not the answer in this case. Although it would offer a nice touch. It's not the way to go. There's too many of them. They're too powerful. You can't beat them that way. I'm not looking to beat these guys anyway. I'm looking to put a stain on these fuckers they can't remove. And there it is right there in that woman's head that's mirrored. Because once you understand what mirroring is, well, then you know what that's involved in. See? And that's why that picture was taken like that. Because people in the know would look at that and they'd say, oh, she's part of the club. But see, I'm not part of the club. But I know it. And that's why, if you remember that video where they said I'm starting to get under their nerves, it's like I have the key to the costume party, but they can't quite figure out how I got it. Well, to tell you the truth, I don't know how I got it either. And I'd sure like to give it the fuck back and give me my girlfriend and we could part our ways. But that ain't never going to happen. So I have to carry through with my plan, which is to literally fuck you as hard as I can to see how you like it. I don't think you're going to like it. Let's see. Oh, what a lovely picture. What a lovely picture. Why would you make that in yellow pink? The two colors are indicatively involved in sex and violence. Well, you know why. You know why they did that. Isn't that interesting? Wow. And see, Mickey's head is comprised of 3 gears. 1, 2, and 3. And what those 3 gears represent is hell. And those gears represent a machine. And very slow moving and grinding. Wow, what a wonderful character. Oh, and it's a ladies' man? Well, you think that means a man that women adore. No, that's not what that means. He's a ladies' man. He means he's a tranny. That's what that means. And if we look over here, what another wonderful picture. Memory loss. Gee, and you see that one side has now become a part machine and the other side is normal. What's the memory loss? Because during the act of sodomy upon a child, there comes a point where it's so horrific, and this is where the programming comes in. Boom, the child retreats into himself, but doesn't remember that he did it. That's the memory loss, you see? And now the child, as you can see by the camera lens, is now tied into that system, but isn't aware of it. Gosh, the things that the Jews have done for us. It's so wonderful the way they've promoted pedophilia all over the world and told kids that they have to switch their sexes. Oh, you know that they're chosen. They just have to be because they're just so loving. And here they are again trying to normalize that crap. But showing you what they really do. Does torture debate, does sodomy keep us safe? And notice it's a flashlight. Yeah, the light. Because that's what happens when you hit that nerve. Remember I told you what happens? The child has flashes of white light in their head like an atomic bomb going off. Yeah, see? Here, let me just get you a rendition of that real quick. Maybe help you see it a little clearer. That's why they show you pictures like this. See? Right there? That's why they show you pictures like this. Because this, to somebody that was in a club, would know what that means. It's like a calling card. It's a gang symbol. It means the guy got done. See? Isn't this stuff... Oh, how fascinating. Learning is fun. So in the next one I'm doing, we're going to show you the corporation that is backing this evil, vile piece of shit, Aaron Arnold, a.k.a. Aaron Austerlitz, a.k.a. Amy Laska. See, I know we're all over the place here, but this all has to do with what went on with Stephanie. It's just I have to educate you, at least to get you to understand what it is the fuck you're looking at, so that when I show you the other stuff, with the Asherah pole and all of that going on there, you understand that this is something that's been around a very long time that very few people know anything about. And then you can look at it and go, yeah, there's something way whacked about what the police are saying versus what actually happened. That's why I'm doing these videos like this. So here's this repugnant little Jew, sodomite, making a joke. You see he's got his fingers. You can see the background's fake, pointing to his temple. So he's already insinuating this whole thing is nothing but sodomy, but watch.
Japan.
Watch. Here it comes, watch.
The salesman was like the last time. Sorry. It's been a long 3 days.
So it's been a long 3 days, and then so he farts like he got it up the ass and air was stuck up there. And it was 3 days, right? You guys not catch this stuff? You see? They can't help it. So when he was in Japan, he got fucked up the ass because he's the bitch. And that's what he's referring to. And so for them, it's funny.
Wayne and his youthful ward, Dick Grayson, have been summoned back to Wayne Manor by an urgent but anonymous call for help. The invention and its custodian are reported in grave danger aboard the yacht. Never ones to shirk responsibility, Bruce and Dick, with characteristic speed and resolve, descend promptly to the Batcave. And then, as they have done many times before, as Batman and Robin, courageous warriors against crime, they are off once again to the rescue.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger. Ready to move out.
On a peaceful afternoon motor ride, millionaire Bruce Wayne and his youthful ward, Dick Grayson, have been summoned back to Wayne Manor by an urgent but anonymous call for help. The invention and its custodian are reported in grave danger aboard the yacht. Never ones to shirk responsibility, Bruce and Dick, with characteristic speed and resolve, descend promptly to the Batcave. And then, as they have done many times before, as Batman and Robin, courageous warriors against crime, they are off once again.
If you want to understand addiction,
Just tell me if you've eaten these in the last week.
Okay.
Cheese,
Yes.
fried chicken,
Yes.
other fried foods,
Yes.
hot dogs,
Yes.
salami,
Yes.
snack chips,
Yes.
bacon,
Yes.
sausage,
Yes.
sweet roll,
What's...
sweet roll, like a Danish.
Yes.
What type of milk do you drink?
Buttermilk.
What type of oil do you use?
WD-40. Usually peanut oil.
When you have chicken, is it with the skin or without the skin?
Just the skin. What am I doing wrong? It didn't take long for Miriam to observe that I needed more vegetables in my diet. So...
Do you know you can do this?
So you open your tailgate like this, you reach down in here, grab this strap, flip it up over the post like that. Look at the perfect angle it holds for your tailgate.
I don't know.
Okay, so we got that perfect angle. Now watch this.
All right, let's check it out.
Hop in here, throw it in reverse. Look at that.
Not
Perfect
bad.
angle every time.
That's a pretty good tip, actually.
Perfect.
Do you know you can do this?
So you open your tailgate like this, you reach down in here, grab this.
I don't think we should try to have people live really.
Come on! Doggy, come on, oh, get something. Come on!
Anyway, sweetie, can I just say that at least you're not fat like me? Hmm? mean, what you two don't seem to realise is that inside of me, there's a thin person just
Idiot.
Oh, listen.
What up? How's that?
Henry! Good morning, buddy. Hi. Henry. Good morning, buddy. Hi.
So what do you think it's worth? These were like 60 cents back in the 60s, and now they're still under $1. There's some heavy hitters in the Hot Wheel world that would jump on a prototype like this. This would be easily $100,000 for this car. So I'm thinking 60?
Nah, we're not in the same neighborhood.
I'll go 65 grand.
No, I'll go down to 140.
I mean, I go as high as 70.
Nah. It's just not gonna do it.
So what do you think it's worth?
Right away.
There's a holdup in the Bronx.
There could be a few answers to this so-called paradox, or it may not even be a paradox at all. There have been many books written offering a variety of solutions to the Fermi paradox. Some of them sound logical, while others sound a bit frightening. One of the logical arguments is that any civilizations that may exist are just too far away to make contact. Forget the science fiction films that make the idea of instant communication in space seem possible. It just doesn't happen like this across huge distances. Light waves, radio waves, and all of the other electromagnetic waves travel at the speed limit of light in empty space, which is about 300,000 kilometers per second.
Щоб не плодили.
This is a police officer from Somalia whose brain was damaged by a bomb explosion.
I had that book when I was a kid. It's a good one. There's like pop-up books. This is a new edition now, right?
I don't know. I've never seen this.
You haven't seen this book?
No.
Oh, this is great. But when I was a kid, the one was it was a surprise because it was a surprise, and they still. Oh, that's better.
Oh,
isn't that crazy?
Don't be afraid. What don't you do me?
Oh, don't touch the fence. Don't touch the fence. Oh!
He got through
You
it.
will learn to respect it if you touch it. Told you.
Is there anything else that's unusual? The hand, the tap? Oh, the baby on board?
Everybody has these in their front yard.
Tonight, Davis police are warning women of tainted drinks at popular restaurants and bars.
Traps you should never fall for in the hood. As you guys can see, this is a plain cup of water with 3 pieces of ice floating peacefully at the top. If you ever see your ice sinking down to the bottom or floating in the bottom of your cup, this is a sign that your drink has possibly been spiked.
We're always cautious when they go out.
You definitely should have a buddy. Make sure that you look at who's making your drinks.
Tonight, Davis police are warning women of tainted drinks at popular restaurants and bars.
Traps you should never fall for in the hood. As you guys can see, this is a plain cup of water with 3 pieces of ice. Is floating peacefully at the top.
People have no idea. You guys have no idea this is a story about sodomy. That's hilarious.
From Gwynda Bogle, rude people are stupid people. A useful thing Twitter taught me is that rude people are almost always stupid. In virtually every case, when someone viciously insults me for something I said, they also misunderstood what I said.
You serious? You serious?
Do you feel the helplessness? My keys.
I'll go.
I'm just gonna close this with this for this section of it. This is her daughter. Okay, this is her daughter that was standing right next to her mom within 10 feet when supposedly the father, Joe, shot her and killed her. The brother was there and a girl that was staying overnight. Does this look like a girl to you that watched her mom get shredded with a shotgun 3 months prior? You know what else is really wrong with this picture? this girl sitting here with mascara on and fake eyelashes, don't you think that that's a tad little early to be wearing that heavy of any type of makeup? And then we've got the color code here for pedophilia, but what's more interesting is what the daughter's holding down here. That is an American $100 bill. This looks like an advertisement for pedophilia. It's exactly what it looks like. Because there's no reason why that kid would be walking around with a $100 bill with another girl with heavy mascara and fake eyelashes. If this isn't a fucking pedophile ring up there, I don't know what the fuck it is. I don't think that they were aware of my existence until after this whole Stephanie thing happened. This thing screams. Let me just put this on the record. Not only is the FBI from Rhode Island protecting these pedophiles, B, the state police are protecting them. Okay, they're the ones that issued the order to keep me out of there on the 5th of October. It is the government that runs these pedophile operations. It's not some dude that fucking peeps at girls in the shower at school. Those are the guys that they throw to the people to make it look like they're doing something. This is industrial. And somehow I got caught up in this shit, but I'll tell you what, and it's going to cost me my life in the end, I guarantee it will. This shit is going to get exposed, one way or another. That's why I'm putting this stuff out. So when I do disappear, you'll understand why. Stephanie Francis, whoever she is, I don't know who she is. They used a fake, but here's the parents. You're going to tell me that their daughter got killed 3.5 months prior? And everybody's sitting here smiling like they just came from the fucking casino? Come on, man. How is this even possible? I want to grab this guy by the neck and go, you know, if you don't start talking, you're not going to see your 70th birthday. See, because remember, I'm 64, so I can beat up another old man. It's okay. And believe me, the thoughts cross my mind. But no, we won't get violent. That's not the way to beat these people. The way to beat them is with exposing it. But I do like this. I like her one eye symbolism. One eye open, one eye closed. There is no way in fuck that these people would be standing here. Everybody there should be, their faces should be red and their eyes should be swollen from crying. The fuck out of here. And then you got all of this. All of this. A fake, I don't know who this woman is. I've never seen this woman in my life. Yet they're telling the public that was Stephanie? Seriously? And then we got this over here. Here's Stephanie. Here's the one at the funeral. Oh, would the real Stephanie please stand the fuck up? Which one is it? Maybe they really did have a thing for this woman, but then who was this woman that I was seeing that was using that name and that address? Then you got this fucking ugly fuck, the next door neighbor, who happens to look exactly like the troll in the cartoon. You know, the one where you're fucking with somebody? Interesting picture. Who has a chin like that? Then you have this here, right? You got that there. Well, what is that? Well, what did I tell you that is? They use llamas. Llamas are like a symbol for child sacrifice. Then you got me right here. Then you got the chick that Joe was doing on the side. I told Stephanie, whoever I was talking to, that, you know, at the time, I told Stephanie, fuck, I'd have done her, and she got all mad. I said, well, it's true. And she is fucking hot. I've talked to her on the phone since then, but, you know, only for about an hour and a half. This is the chick that I was told was Stephanie. Now, if it isn't, I want to know who this broad is, because she caused me a lot of problems. So I'm just going to leave this for this section of it for right now. Because you know, my patience is wearing thin. People don't crash, and in the background, and this was from the news. Believe me, they're going to get a copy of this shit too. This was in the news. I'm so well trained at this crap. I've been doing it for 20 years. I saw that in the back, and I stopped the video, and I pulled it out, and there you go. There's a pentagram, and there's the big black X, and that configuration has to do with the fallen angels and the return to the golden age, where they ruled, or where they ruled the earth, not man. So this is some serious shit that's going on here, real serious. Now I'm just going to leave it at that for the moment. This thing won't end until I'm in the dirt.